Have you ever had a hard time making stories on Gacha? Do you feel like your story just really sucks and have no idea where to start or how to finish it? Well, I'm sure every Gacha tuber has been there before. Being burnt out from endless work only to end up with a project that looks nothing like you expected. I don't really have an official name for this channel, but you can all call me Sky for now. I like watching Gacha content a lot, but it happens a lot that people have just struggled with ending their story or starting it, so I thought maybe I could give you all some stuff to consider, or use as a base when making a story. In this video, I'll be going through where to start, the story structure, the 5 W's and 1 H, plot, ending a story, writing and designing good characters, tips on avoiding or further developing popular character tropes, actions that have consequences, and the end. Don't worry, timestamps will be in the description. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video, so let's get started. So, it's best to start out with the story itself. Focus on the tale you want to tell, and not who you want to ship. Unless that's your main goal. If you start with characters, the plot may become tricky and/or uninteresting, because it's just about what the characters are doing, and not really why. Think of it like a vehicle. You have your car, and the story's your road. Most roads are smooth and may have some bumps here and there, but we can drive through them with ease. But when you add characters first, it's like thinking about the car you're driving instead of where to turn or wait for the people to cross the road. Get it? Focusing on the plot will help drive the story forward. Listen up. Plan your stories before you write them. I can't stress this enough. Although everyone has their own way of writing or making Gacha Life mini-movies, there's a special story structure you should follow. There should be a start, where our story begins. Then after the start, there comes a problem. There can be multiple problems, actually. And then a solution to the problem. And last but not least, the end. If you're making a mini-movie, then plan a simple start, problems that the characters have to overcome, and at the end, the conflict is solved. That way, you can end your Gacha Life mini-movie properly, and not have to end it out of nowhere. So now on to the part I think a lot of people are confused by, the 5 W's and 1 H. So allow me to explain. When starting a story, you need to answer some questions. These questions are super important, and you have to answer these questions first. Answering them, it'll be easier to do a lot of things later on. So what are these questions, and what do they mean? Let's start off with where. Where answers the question where the story takes place. Is it a school, or perhaps an old mansion? The place the story will mostly take place in has to be established. When is not commonly changed in Gacha videos. It's usually around the same year the video is released, which is a bit of a bummer considering the possibilities. When is just about when your story takes place. That's all. What is something I think should definitely be thought about more. What basically means what's happening, or what's going to happen. It could be at the moment your story starts, like having a character getting chased, or perhaps something occurred right before the story starts. What happened? Who is this happening to? Who is the main character of the story? Who should we root for? Who answers the question of who our main character is? Why should be applied to all of these questions? Why does the story take place when it does? Why does the story take place where it does? Does it have to take place there? Why is this happening in the story? And most importantly, why should we care about the characters? This is the 1 H. How is that important until your problem occurs? How is the question, how did this happen? The answer to how should be somewhat logical and not a way to force something to happen. All these questions are important to answer in order to make a good story. You don't have to outright say May 2018 or anything like that, nor do you have to explain why a character matters to your audience. A good way of answering all these questions is through the movie Breakfast Club.
It is now 7:06.
It's an old movie about a bunch of teenagers. This is how the W's and H can work. Where are they? At a school, in detention. When does it take place? Around the time it was released, 1986. What did they do? They're in detention. Who is it about? 5 teenagers. John, Allison, Brian, Claire, and Andrew. Why does it matter? Because they've all done bad things that get them in detention, and we want to see them get along or at least find out what they did. By the way, how goes together with why a lot. See how it's a pretty simple concept and you can sort of imagine how these things could go? Go and watch some movies or series and try to answer these questions and make some stories of your own. And please, watch Breakfast Club. In order to get your story going, you need to have a problem. It could be falling in love with the wrong person, an old bully coming back into town, basically what starts the character's journey. What's important with the way the problem or problems continue in the story is that the main character learns new things or changes as a person. It's important to let your character develop because it shows that they've grown as a person. Making them a more likable person gives the story more charm. Now this is important. A problem isn't something that happens or is just there. A problem is an obstacle. Think of it as an obstacle course. Not a tiny rock that you can simply walk past. You have to work to get through the obstacle course in order to clear it. When you clear the course first, you will most likely feel very accomplished, and when you do it again, you get past it more easily. That's how your character's problems should work. They should have struggled solving the problem and learn from it. Obstacle courses come in different shapes and sizes, but you should have learned something from them in the end. The way to end a story is to bring all the plot points to an end. Basically, solving the problems that were set up in the beginning. The problems don't have to be all solved at once, nor any mysteries, but in order to reach a satisfying conclusion, the last problem that should be solved is the main and biggest one. The story should end in a way that pays off to the viewer, like two characters getting together, friends making up and hanging out together again, or perhaps a character that's died being honored. Not all endings have to be good, but leaving off on a note that wraps the story up is 10 times better than, and then they lived happily ever after.